Om Gam Ganapatye Namaha. Kaliyugada Kalpataru, the fifth delight. Shri Raghavendra Gurusarvabhauma. Chapter 96. Composition of the Vedic Commentaries. One day, Shri Guru Raghavendra at the Shri Mata Vidyapita called together the elderly scholars who were both respected elders and dear associates. Lakshmi Narasimhacharya, Ramachandracharya, Narasimhacharya, his brother Guru Rajacharya, as well as his pre-monastic younger brother's children, that is nephews, spiritual sons and students such as Narayanacharya, Venkata Narayanacharya, Lakshmi Narayanacharya, Krishnacharya, Govindacharya and others. He shared with them the idea of composing commentaries on the Vedas, which he had resolved to undertake, and gave the following command. Vidya Lakshmi, after I accepted the Paramahamsa Ashrama, instructed me to write the Veda Bhashyas, Prakasha, Parimala and other treatises for the protection of the Dvaita Siddhanta. Our revered Guru, Sri Vijayendra Tirtharu, also commanded me to do so. Though I have been seated on the Pita, that is pontifical seat, for many years, and by the grace of Sri Hari, Vayu and our Guru lineage, I have authored several works. Yet until now, I have not been able to write Vedic commentaries as ordained by Vagdevi, that is goddess of speech. During our yatra to Tirupati, Sri Venkateshwara himself blessed me with a divine vision and explicitly commanded me to undertake the writing of these commentaries. Now, inspired by Sri Hari Vayuguru, I have finally resolved to begin this great work. It is not only a rare divine opportunity but also a task of tremendous responsibility. With the mercy of Sri Hari Vayu and our Guru, I have confidence and faith that we will complete this successfully. In this noble endeavor, I seek the support of all of you, scholars and elders, dear ones and experienced well-wishers, he continued. First, we must gather authentic manuscripts of Rig, Yajur, Sama and Atharva Vedas, along with the commentaries that aid in their interpretation. We must begin with the tasks such as collection, review and research, verification of variant readings, preparation of clean copies. All of this requires your dedicated and devotional service. Hearing these nectar-like words from Sri Guru Raghavendra, all present were overjoyed and deeply moved, knowing well that the composition of Veda Bhashyas would not only be of immense benefit to the Dvaita tradition, but also a great aid to the scholars interested in scriptural study and teaching. They enthusiastically and reverently accepted Sri Avaru's instruction, offered prostrations and humbly pledged their service. Then began the great endeavor, collection of sacred texts. From the kingdom after kingdoms, village after villages, house after house, manuscripts of Vedic scriptures were collected with great enthusiasm. Within 6 to 7 months, thousands of palm leaf manuscripts and handwritten Vedic texts were gathered and presented to Sri Guru Raghavendra. Sri Swamiji, under the supervision of Lakshmi Narayanacharya, Lakshmi Narasimhacharya, Ramachandracharya, and Guru Rajacharya, formed a Vedic research committee comprising Vedic scholars, 40 to 50 Shastra versed Pandits, his disciples and spiritual sons like Venkata Narayanacharya, Narayanacharya, Lakshmi Narayanacharya, Krishnacharya, and Govindacharya. This committee was tasked to carefully inspect each Vedic text, separate the cleanest manuscripts, identify common accepted readings from variants, compare both clean and variant versions rigorously, produce purified, accurate versions, and prepare a registry explaining variations. At the Vidyamata, 45 scholars worked diligently in the research of Vedic manuscripts. Their devotion and enthusiasm made the entire endeavor vibrant and successful. Every week, the scholars presented the portion of the research completed, the revised manuscripts, and a list of textual variants to Sri Raghavendra Swamiguru. He reviewed each carefully and gave detailed feedback on what to modify. The team would then revise the work and prepare new versions. After nearly a full year of intense efforts, purified versions of the three Vedas, that is Rig, Yajur and Sama, were completed. Once satisfied, Sri Swamiji made a final detailed review and gave the authoritative pronouncement that this is correct. Thus was completed the famous and revered Treya, the pure manuscripts of the Rigveda, Yajurveda and Samaveda, with validated variant readings. Then, at an auspicious time, Sri Guru Raghavendra Swami began the sacred composition of his Veda Bhashyas, that is commentaries. He arranged before him the purified versions of the Vedas, the Vedangas, that is auxiliary sciences, Nirukta, Chandas, Vedic lexicons, Sri Madhvacharya's Rig Bhashya, commentaries by Sri Jayatirtharu, and word sequence text, that is Padakrama, by Sri Vagisha Tirtharu. Also included were interpretations by Sri Jayatirtharu, Sri Vyasaraja Tirtharu, Sri Vijayendra Tirtharu and Sri Sudhindra Tirtharu on difficult scriptural passages. Rare works by Sri Vijayendra Tirtharu, such as Shruti Tatparya Kaumudi, Shrutartha Sara, Turiya Shiva Khandanam, Paratattva Prakashika, Veda Vidya Vilasa, Veda Chandrika, Vedagama Sudhakara, Veda Chintamani, Veda Prabha, Chakra Mimamsa, Upanishad commentaries by Sri Madhva and Tikakaras, and Sayana's Vedic commentaries. All this text, along with Vedic manuscripts and newly prepared palm leaf collections, were ceremonially worshipped. Mangalarti and Mantra Pushpa were offered. Worship was performed with the portraits of Sri Badri Narayana, Sri Madhvacharya, and Sri Tikakara, that is Tikacharya, followed by a special prayer at the Vrindavana of Sri Vijayendra Tirtharu. Returning to the Vidyamata, Sri Raghavendra Swamiguru, in the presence of scholarly assembly, took his seat on the sacred throne, that is Bhadrasana, and began the composition of the Veda Bhashya. The assembly was full. Hundreds of scholars, students, and dear disciples had gathered. 6 renowned stenographers, well versed in sacred writings, sat before him with palm leaf manuscripts, pens, and writing tools, ready to inscribe every word. That scene was enchanting and unprecedented. It brought to the minds the vision of Sri Badri Narayana composing the Brahma Mimasa Shastra, that is Brahma Sutras, in Badrikashrama. Surrounded by hundreds of rishis and sages, everyone sat in eager anticipation, hearts brimming with bliss, awaiting the Vedic elucidations to emerge from Sri Swamiji's lotus mouth. The atmosphere glowed with divine energy. Sri Guru Raja, having invoked in his heart Sri Mula Raghupati Vedavyasa Deva, glanced once at the assembly and with a gentle smile began the composition of the Veda Bhashya. At that moment, it felt as though a bolt of divine energy surged through the assembly. As soon as Sri Avaru began to speak, all 6 manuscripts scribes swiftly began writing without pause. Guru Raghavendra began with Rigveda Bhashya, composing an auspicious invocation, that is Mangala Acharana, offering reverence to the Guru's lineage and clearly outlining the purpose of the work, all in a deep, resonant voice. The scribes captured every word as he spoke. The audience witnessed this unprecedented, extraordinary, and intellectual profound event, were awestruck at the mastery with which Sri Guru Raja composed his works. The eyes of all scholars, filled with devotion and joy, began to stream with tears. Gurugalu first described the non-human, divine nature and greatness of the Rigveda in a soul-touching manner. Aparakshya. He then recited the first Rig hymn, gave its explanation, and presented the correct interpretation. He went on to critically analyze the commentary of Sayanacharya, pointing out its errors, incompleteness, misinterpretations, and contradictions, backed by authority sources. Sapramana. He demonstrated with logic and scriptural rigor how Sayana's interpretation were inconsistent and then refuted them using the authority of the Shruti. He offered a clearer, deeper interpretation in line with the views of Sri Badri Narayana, that is Vedavyasaru. For each rik, he explained its correct meaning, drawing on other Shastras, citing the words of Sri Madhvacharya, Tikakaras, and early Acharyas. With profound clarity and brilliance, he showed how every word and syllable of the Vedas ultimately points to Lord Vishnu alone. His speech glowed with radiance, and it appeared to all present that Sri Lakshmi Devi herself, along with her eternal consort Lord Narayana, were residing on the stage of the Guru's divine face. It felt as if Sri Hari, in his five forms, Sri Bhudevi and Durga Devi as aspects of Lakshmi, Hanuman, Bhima, and Madhva as Jivottama, that is Supreme Soul, Brahma, who first taught the Vedas to the world, and Saraswati, goddess of wisdom with the Veena in hand, were all dwelling in the theatre of Sri Guru's radiant countenance, revealing through him the eternal truth that the essence of all Vedas is none other than flawless Sri Vaishnava Siddhanta, inherited through an unbroken tradition of pure souls since time immemorial. This extraordinary, wondrous, and world-revered composition of the Veda Bhashya, inspired directly by the Lord himself, was bringing eternal fame to Sri Guru Raghavendra. Thus, Sri Raghavendra Guruvarya became deeply immersed in the Veda Bhashya composition. Every morning, after completing bath, rituals, and japa, he would take his seat on the Vidya Simhasana at sunrise, in the assembly overflowing with scholars, and for 3 full hours he would dedicate the Veda Bhashya. After that, from 9 a.m. to 12 noon, he would deliver formal discourses, Shastra Pata Pravachana. Among the closest disciples and nephews of Sri Guru Raja's elder brother Guru Rajacharya was Venkatanarayanacharya, whose 4 sons, Venkatanacharya, Vasudevacharya, Muddu Venkata Krishnacharya, and Vijayendracharya, along with Govindacharya's son of Narsimhacharya, a relative of Sri Sudinda Titru, and Purushottamacharya, son of Sri Lakshmi Narayanacharya, and Appannacharya from Bichale, formed a group of 6. Along with them, 16 young students, sons of scholars from places like Kumbakonam, Tanjavur, and other scholarly centers, were studying under the direct guidance of Sri Gurusarvabhauma, that is Sri Raghavendra Swamigalu. These disciples, during the same period, began intensive study in Vedanta Shastra, Nyaya, that is logic, Mimamsa, Vyakarana, that is grammar, and Dharma Shastra, law and ethics. Sri Raghavendra Swamigalu's daily schedule was as follows: from sunrise till noon, Veda Bhashya composition and scriptural discourses; at midday, worship of the Moola Rama deity, distribution of Tirtha Prasada and meals; from 2 to 4 p.m., teaching of other Shastras and discussions with religious dignitaries; in the evening, Sandhya Vandana, Sayam Deepa, Aradhana, and blessing devotees with Phalamantrakshata; later, reviewing texts and preparing mentally for the next day, Veda Bhashya's writing, followed by rest. In these uninterrupted cycles, the composition of Bhashyas, daily teachings, and discourse continued seamlessly. As months and years passed, Sri Guru Raja completed profound and elaborate commentaries, that is Bhashyas, on the following: Rig Veda, Yajurveda, and Samaveda. As for the Atharva Veda, Guru Raghavendra, being a visionary and spiritually inspired by the divine, refrained from composing a commentary on it, deeming it less suitable for public and universal benefit. During the same period, Sri Raghavendra Swamigalu also authored the following extraordinary works: Gitartha Sangraha, that is summary of the Gita's meaning; commentaries on the Gita Bhashya Prabhaya Deepika; elucidation of Gita Tatparya Tika; Mahabharata Tatparya Nirnaya Bhavasangraha, commentaries on Vadavali, commentaries on Tarkatandava, notes on Pramana Paddhati, Prameya Sangraha. These scholarly compositions firmly established Sri Raghavendra Swami as a Vedic commentator, that is, Veda Bhashakarna, a commentator on commentaries, that is, Tikakara, and a master of glosses and annotation, Tippanacharya, earning him unparalleled fame and deep reverence among the intellectual elite of India. At Vidyamata, the Madhvanavami festival and accompanying great scholarly assemblies, that is, Mahavidvat Sabha, were being held with extraordinary grandeur. In the Mahavidvat Sabha, a golden palanquin carried the sacred icons of Sri Vedavyasa Devaru, the portrait of Sri Madhvacharya, the Sarvamula Grantha, the all original works, the Veda Bhashyas, and the newly authored scriptures composed by Sri Raghavendra Swamigalu. These were adorned with golden ornaments and silken garments, that is Pitambara, and are accompanied by auspicious music instruments and chanting of Vedic mantras as they proceeded through the royal streets of Kumbakonam in grand procession. As the golden palanquin passed through each street, Sumangalis, that is auspicious married women, offered Aarti, that is ritual lamp, while the gathered public, with cheers of joy, showered flowers in reverence. Shri Raghavendra Swamigalu, accompanied by his disciples, walked humbly beside the palanquin, gently fanning the divine images with gold-handled chamara fans, surrounded by hundreds of pandits. Fortunate were those who beheld this majestic and charming spectacle. An unforgettable vision filled with divine bliss. After the procession returned to Vidyamata, the ceremonial publication of the Veda Bhashyas was conducted under the graceful hands of Sri Raghavendra Swamigalu in all its splendor. That day, the blessing speech, that is Anugraha Bhashana, delivered by Sri Raghavendra Swamigalu, was of such depth and spiritual grandeur that it deserves to be inscribed in golden letters in the annals of Indian philosophical history. Many renowned scholars also gave speeches wholeheartedly praising Sri Raghavendra Swamigalu's wisdom, devotion, and renunciation, his genius as an author, and the immense significance of the Veda Bhashyas he had composed. Thousands of devotees, having received the darshan of the sacred and auspicious Gurusarvabhauma, as well as his blessing words, that is Anugraha Vachana, sacred water, that is Tirtha, holy food, that is Prasada, and Phalamantrakshata, that is blessed rice grains, felt their lives had attained fulfillment. They were overwhelmed with divine bliss. Hari Om. Sri Krishnarpanamastu.